What is up, everybody? It's Darkstrider, the YouTube Assassin, and today I have another build for you. It's going to be the reverse of the Burning Demigod. This one is actually the Venomous Demigod. So basically, we reverse a lot of the things that we had on the Burning Demigod, and we convert it into poison. We take the fire off, we turn it to poison. For some reason, on poison builds, poison is really easy to assemble as opposed to the fire element. I don't know why, but yeah, I'll show you what's going on with this build. We start off with the Minotaur Labras, and this time we swap out the damage that becomes fire for damage becomes poison. It also has 19% warrior damage, 35% crit damage, and -1 adrenaline cost per overpower abilities. So it's going to cost one less piece of adrenaline as we do overpower. Sometimes we'll do it, sometimes we won't. It's just nice to have. I also have Hermes Kirkion. Hope I said that right. Has 15% assassin damage, 20% poison damage, which was the big reason I added this. And I also have the ability to level it up a little more. It'll become 28% poison damage when those last two dots are filled in. It also has plus 15% poison damage and build up, which is great because it's going to help us to actually have the poison stick and sting a little bit longer and harder. I added plus 20% damage with Ring of Chaos ability because Ring of Chaos is going to be big with this build. It's going to be part of like a control method. So you're going to go in there and you're just going to kick doors down. As far as a bow, I don't use a bow with this build, but I needed this just because it added the 20% poison damage or 28% poison damage. It also has 19% assassin damage. Basic arrows become poison arrows just to go along with the whole theme of the poison. And I added plus 5% all damage. Now I have the chance and an opportunity to actually build that up. As you can see, the two dots on the right hand side are not filled in. Once that's filled up, this will be an even more powerful addition to this build. Now, the circlet has 19% warrior damage, 6% all damage. I added 1 second's duration of intoxication, which this is another engraving that I really need to build up. The intoxication duration actually has them having the poison effects longer. So even if you wanted to run and take a breather, they're still getting hit with this poison. They're still feeling the sting. It does a lot of damage to them, and you have the opportunity to just run away. Now you could also, this also has 30% damage with all abilities, which is for this set. Now, as you're going through, you may find another engraving that says plus 10% damage with all abilities. That's actually the engraving that comes from this set when you're adding it onto other items. Now, it will not stack, even though it says something totally different. I've tried it, it won't stack. All right, it still considers it as part of this set. If you see the plus 10% damage with all abilities, even though you already have these abilities, don't add it. It's not going to help you out. Moving over to the bracer, 19% warrior damage, plus 6% all damage. I added plus 25% elemental buildup, which again still has the ability to increase. The elemental buildup again will get them feeling that poison and sticking that poison longer and harder and doing more damage. It's going to be like absolutely sick. We go over to the chest plate, 19% warrior damage, plus 6% all damage. I added plus 20% poison damage, which again has the ability to grow. We want to have as much poison damage on this as possible just to make it just really just damaging to all your enemies. All right, we move over to the waist, plus 19% warrior damage, plus 6% all damage, and I added another 20% poison damage. Again, we can build up this poison damage. As you can see on the right-hand side, there are two dots that are missing. When we increase that, it's going to do even more damage as far as poison goes. And then we have on the boots, 19% warrior damage, 6% all damage, 10% intoxicated damage and weakening effect, which, as I said, will really, really tear into these guys. It makes the poison stick longer and stronger. Now, going to the abilities, And again, I have to apologize. I'm working a lot of different builds, so rather than switching everything out, I'm just keeping all this stuff here. I do plan on putting a lot of this stuff into mastery points, but just for the sake of argument and for the sake of like, constantly switching everything out, I decided to leave it here. So I'll tell you what's necessary and what's not necessary. In the assassin tree, we're going to want Shadow Assassin, all right? You're still going to want to sneak up on people sometimes, so you're going to need this to knock them out. Then you're also going to add critical assassination, which actually increases the ability to assassinate. If you're sneaking up on them, you just hold the button a little longer and you do a little more damage, which is great. Stealth Master, we add onto these builds so that way you're silent, your movements are silent, and you're able to hide easier and quicker. All right. In this situation, Shadow of Nyx is unnecessary. Also, Rush Assassination is unnecessary. We do need Venomous Attacks, though, at least one rank, because it opens up Poison Mastery. When we put 3 ranks in Poison Mastery, as you can see, Poison buildup is increased by 60%. The Intoxicated duration is increased by 6 seconds. The poison damage and weakening effect is increased by 25%. So, what this tells us is that the buildup, what happens is that, as you see in the little animation here, you'll see the green, you'll see the circle above the warrior's head, and you'll see it fill up green with the 3 hits. That's the buildup. The buildup will happen quicker. As we increase the poison buildup percentage, it'll take maybe 1 hit and they'll be full. And then you'll see that white circle that's around the green circle that's ticking down. That's how long they're poisoned for. So that's the poison duration. Okay, so as you can see here, it increases that by 6 seconds. So it'll be there 6 seconds longer. And then the damage and weakening effect is increased by 25%. Poison eats through armor, so it's going to damage them like that. It also does a lot of damage. You'll see big numbers showing up above their heads every tick that they're poisoned, and that's what we want with this build. Hero Strike, I like to add it just because it helps me out in certain situations. It's a controlled thing. Usually I one-shot people whenever I use this, and if not, with the poison abilities, they will be poisoned. Slow time in this case is not necessary. Death Veil really isn't necessary, but I've been using it a lot lately with assassin builds, just as a side note. And you also get a trophy or achievement if you do this 10 times in a row. You just attack 10 people with assassination abilities. They completely disappear. Nobody finds a body. Call to Arms is not necessary with this build. Vanish is not necessary with this build. We don't need to hide, honestly. You're just going to be a powerhouse. Revelation isn't necessary. I like to put it on my builds, like I say, because I like to reveal the secrets that are around me. Or if there's enemies that I may have missed, I like to just scan real quick and they pop up. It just helps me out sometimes. But, if you're comfortable with not using this, you don't have to. So in the warrior section, Charged Heavy Attack, even though I like to use it, is not necessary here. Sparta Kick really isn't necessary either, but it's nice to have in certain situations just because it helps you out as far as control goes. So I like to put it there. It's preferential, whether you like it or not. Bull Rush, I actually use this because especially in this build, it really does a lot of damage. Because I have 3 ranks in it, we'll rush them, knock them down, and then we do another attack where we slam into the ground and send people flying, not unlike Ring of Chaos. Not as powerful as Ring of Chaos, but very similar to it. We also have Second Wind, just in case we get poison, fire, or, somehow we're low on health. It's always good to have that. Ring of Chaos, this is going to be a real powerhouse part of this build. Whenever you're surrounded, which I like to be when I have this build, I like to get them all around me. When they're all surrounding me, I like to just explode on them and they all go flying everywhere. All right? Gear Master and Weapons Master, both these things increase our weapon skills and our armor resistance. Okay? So we like to have that, especially in 3 ranks. Because this is a poison build, all these flaming attacks and fire mastery are not necessary. Okay? In fact, what I even put on the Labrys, you could put something else instead of weapon damage becomes poison damage if you wanted to add something else. And then if you're comfortable adding venomous attacks and putting 3 ranks in that, you could just manually, it doesn't cost any adrenaline. You manually add the poison directly to your weapon and then you carry on, but you have to remember to keep adding it as it goes away every time the poison like leaves your weapon. So that's why I like to that's why I like to just have it on the weapon already. Overpower attacks, these really are not necessary as long as you have 1 rank to get into Battle Cry of Ares, because Battle Cry of Ares mixed with Ring of Chaos after you have poison on your weapon is just going to be absolutely devastating. It makes a complete mess. But if you want to add the overpower attacks, you're more than welcome to. You need at least 1 rank in order to open up Battle Cry of Ares, however. Now, as far as the Hunter Tree, I really don't use a lot of Hunter Tree. I don't use a lot of bow on this build either. Devastating Shot you could add, that's kind of useful. Multi-shot is kind of useful if you want to kill multiple people at once, especially if you have poison. You're in the middle of, like, let's say a conquest battle or something. You're surrounded by a bunch of enemies and you really want to just take them all out. This is a good way of doing it. Arrow Master is not necessary. This will help you to get all your different arrows, the fire, poison, paralyzing, those kind of arrows. And if you do not need them, because you've got a poison build, all arrows become poison anyway, you can just stick with regular arrows. All right, and then Sixth Sense, if you do choose to use a bow, this is great because you hold L2, it snaps to aim to the target, which kind of auto targets. All right. Archery Master is not necessary, but again, if you're going to use a bow and arrow, then, I strongly suggest that you get this. Overpower Bow Strike is not necessary. You could just put 1 rank, and that gets you Ghost Arrows of Artemis. Okay? As you can see, you shoot a ghostly arrow that can travel through shields, enemies, and even walls. You could hit like 3 enemies in a row. It deals 340% hunter damage. Special arrows can be used. Again, this is only if you're going to use any bows at all. You can put a bow on. It's not like you could just leave a bow off. You can put a bow on and it actually helps your build out, especially in this case where we're adding more poison damage with the bow. But if you don't want to use any of that, you could actually put all these points into the level masteries. All right. What you want to look for is anything matching this build. You want to especially find poison damage, all damage, warrior damage. Okay, that's always going to be big. Let's see. Oh, intoxicated effect. Any intoxicated effect that you find, it's not going to be legendary, but it'll be like this. Elemental buildup, that's where you would put it. Like this one, 1 second's intoxicated duration. You could add to that. Okay, that's going to help you out. That's really going to intensify this build. Crit damage and crit hit, maybe. That's up to you, but, if you have the extra points. But so far, those are the only areas where I would put the points in. Now, we'll take a look at the stats. Warrior damage is 189%, which is great. Assassin damage is 109, and hunter damage is 75. We really aren't using hunter damage, so, I'm okay with that. Assassin damage at 109, it's taking a backseat to warrior, so I'm okay with that as well. Damage modifiers, damage with headshots is plus 34%, 234%, excuse me. The reason behind this is actually because I do have a couple of points in that mastery. So, as you can see, even though I don't have a lot of headshot damaging gear or perks, this is just the effect of the mastery levels. So, I mean, that's just out of control, just to give you an idea of what happens if you put those points into other things. All right? As we go along, here we go with critical hit damage, 135%, which is great. Critical hit chance, 15%. Not so great, but you know what? We're going to be doing enough damage where we don't need critical hits as often. We're going to be hitting hard. Armor bonus, 90%. Range resistance, 10%. Makes us a little bit more tanky. we're able to deflect a couple of more hits. 10% is nothing, you know, when it comes to being hit by an arrow, but it's still better than nothing. So we move along. Now, what we want is the poison damage here. Poison damage is plus 138%, which is great. Okay? That's a lot of damage. It's going to last 19 seconds, and 200% is the build-up. Maybe one shot, two at the most, and they're poisoned immediately. All right? If we do certain things like while we have our poison weapon, we hit Battle Cry of Ares, and then we hit Ring of Chaos, they're poisoned immediately. And I'll show you how that goes. Now, there's no utilities here because there's no adrenaline added, but the thing is that this build is going to be so crazy that we're not going to worry about adrenaline. We're going to get this done real quick. And another thing that I like about this build is that it is just in time for this crazy weekly event that we have where we had to kill Spartans with poison, and we had to kill them with heavy bladed weapons. So this is a double-edged sword, or in this case, a double-edged axe. So we're just going to go knock right in through the front door. We're not even going to care. As you can see, I one-shotted him with poison. Not one shot and he died, but I hit him with one shot and the poison stuck. We'll do that again. See? Well, this one took two. He's a little stronger. But now he's poisoned. There we go. That's one shot poison right there. Let's get a bunch of guys. Come on. Everybody join in. Everybody join in this party. Let's go. There we go. Close in. Close in, everybody. All right, now, let's Battle Cry of Ares, and then let's Ring of Chaos. Everybody gets poisoned. Everybody gets damaged, poisoned. Bull Rush, the same thing. Kind of like a mini Ring of Chaos at the end there. Yep, bring your reinforcements. I'm okay with that. See, whenever you're surrounded, you kind of control the situation. That's the whole point of Ring of Chaos, and even Bull Rush. On my other card, I actually have the Sparta Kick, which, I mean, we don't need it, but there it is. And we have Hero Strike, which, like I said, controls the situation, and there you go. That guy was one-shotted. Just cleaning house here. And here comes a couple of mercenaries, it looks like. And let's invite them to the party. One of the things I like about that is that as you're doing it, as you're doing that maneuver, it's like they can't touch you, which is kind of cool. You don't take any damage as you're doing that. And I'm having no problem with adrenaline. I'm switching between just smacking them around and just beating them down. Really didn't even need to heal either. Where'd that mercenary go? There he is. Oh, he's a poisoner too? Nice.
That's not possible.
This guy's even staggering there. I didn't even see him throw anything there. There we go. Alright, I was hoping there was going to be more action, more guys. I mean, they lit the brazier and everything like that. That's kind of crazy. But anyway, that's pretty much the build. That's what we do. We basically, you are in control of the entire situation in this case. Your goal is to do as much damage as possible. Okay, you can recover just by simply, like knocking them around with that Ring of Chaos effect. And then, after they're all down, you just smack them around with the Minotaur Labrys. Just chop them up. Or, if you're in some trouble, you poison them all. After they're poisoned, you run around. You kind of recover. You go somewhere. You relax. You come back out. You get back at it. So, again, like I said, that's the build. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. Is there anything that you would add to it? Is there any other weapon you would use with it? I know on one of my builds the other day, somebody commented that they love staves and they would like to see something with staves. So I might try something like that. I'll see what goes on. Like I'll keep giving me your suggestions and I'll keep trying to build something with what you suggest. Because you guys come out with some pretty awesome suggestions, honestly. But, again, let me know what you think of this build. Let me know what weapons you would change out, what weapons you would use. Is there any abilities that you would add to it? Anything you would like to see? I'll show you an update after I have all the other things increased and whatnot. And like I said, all you have to do with this build, go to a couple of forts. As you can see, I already have 23 out of 30 Spartans killed with the heavy blade attack. And I already killed them with poison earlier while I was testing this build with other things. So this is going to be great for this week's weekly. Anyway, other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out an awful lot. And as always, thank you for watching.